Hi, this is GS from UOOE.org, University of Online Education. In previous session, we discussed about how to insert data from PHP script to MySQL. And today's session, I'm going to discuss how to fetch the inserted data and display on PHP web page. Actually, this is the my form. Suppose if I insert record lies gmail.com INF4 something like this is my phone number, and this is my database is a class, and profile is table. And suppose if I submit here means the record will be inserted here. This is the session which we discussed in previous, through PHP script how to insert data to database. Right now I'm going to show you how to fetch these total records and display on web page through PHP script. So I'm opening my Dreamweaver. First of all, in order to fetch data from MySQL, we need to connect to the database. So first of all, I want to open connection to my database. So MySQL_connect is the function to open connection to PHP admin. This is, first of all, we have to define host name. My host name is localhost. After that, we have to define username. After that, password is empty. Now I open connection to PHP admin, and by using MySQL_select_db, I can able to connect to particular database _db, and here my database name is class. I define my database name. So by this I can able to connect to my database, and in order to fetch total records from database, we have one MySQL query called select start from. My table name is profile, so profile. And it is always better to define keywords in capsules, because in select query, select is a keyword, so I define it is in capital letter, and from also is a keyword, so I define in capital letter. Profile is table name, so it should be in same like database table name. So I'm going to save this in one variable, something like select query QRY. I saved in my. Now I define query, but as soon we have to run this query. Run query. In order to run this MySQL query, we have one function called MySQL_query, and I have to define that select query variable in this function. Select Q copy and paste. So now I have total records in this variable itself. So in PHP we have totally 4 functions in order to fetch data from database. So number 1 is we can able to fetch data by using MySQL_fetch_row. This is one function we can use to fetch data from MySQL. MySQL_fetch_row. This is one function to fetch data from database, and the second function is MySQL_fetch_assource. This is second function in order to fetch data from database. Third one is MySQL_fetch_array, and fourth one is MySQL_fetch fetch underscore object. These are the four functions which we use to fetch data from database. I mean, out of these four we can use any one. This four function, I mean, MySQL underscore fetch underscore row fetch data in numeric array, and if you use MySQL underscore fetch underscore array in order to fetch data from database, means it will display records in the format of numeric array and the associative array. And if you use to fetch records by using MySQL underscore fetch underscore array, means it will display records in the format of array only. If you use MySQL underscore fetch underscore object, means it will display records in the format of object. As per my experience, I always like to prefer MySQL underscore fetch underscore assoc, because it will display records in the format of associative array and at the same time numeric array. So here it is flexible to use the MySQL underscore fetch underscore assoc. Suppose I am using MySQL underscore fetch underscore assoc. Now it will display records in the format of associative array. Associative array is nothing but it will display records in the format of database fields records. So in this is normal function. In this function I will place this run query. Now I am going to save this hold this in one variable called fetch data. This is one variable assigning. So right now I'm saving this as data select data dot php. Okay, so right now I have this variable. I mean, this variable is nothing but it contain database records. Suppose if I print in array, means equal. If I print this variable, means it will display records in the format of an array. Save. Now I'm going to run this. My file name is select data. If you see here, I am just able to fetch only one starting record, only one this record, because in order to fetch all complete records from the table, and previous starting of my classes I told you while loop. By using only loops, whether for loop or while loop, we can able to loop total records from the database. But right here I am just using only MySQL underscore fetch underscore assoc. So it's just able to fetch only one record because there is no loop. So in order to fetch total records, we have to use while loop. So I'm just placing these records in while. Now if you see here, if you print this variable, means now we can able to fetch total records from database. Yes, this is my completely total records. Like I have totally 1 2 3 4 records in the database. By using the select query and while loop, I can able to fetch the total records and display it in the format of an array. So now in coming session I will show you how to display, I mean, in these records, array format records in the format of table. Soon after I will show you how to edit these records and delete these records. I mean, for this session, this is the way how to fetch the record from database and display on the web page. In next session I will show you how to display this array records in the format of tables. So this is the end of the session. Thank you.